She said she was bored of our life. So she cheated with her married boss. I found out. Stayed quiet. And planned my escape. Now. She's broke. Friendless. And I just told his wife everything. They wanted to celebrate their 10-year anniversary next month. Reddit. I'm shattered. But I wonder if they're more so. Alright, Reddit. This is gonna be a tough one to write, but I just need to get it all out there. This whole nightmare came to a head 2 nights ago and I'm still reeling. For context, I'm 23M and my girlfriend 21F and I had been together for exactly 1 year and 1 week. Or well, we're together. She works super early morning shifts, usually out the door just after 5 a.m. That night we were chilling watching a movie when she suddenly announced she was tired. It was only about 10 p.m. She said she was heading to bed. I figured, alright, I'll crash soon too. Usually wed cuddle and ID just watch sports videos on my phone with an AirPod in until I got sleepy. Just being together, you know. Then our neighbors who were outside tuning up this sweet car invited us both for a ride. My girlfriend, despite just saying she was tired, perked up and said she wanted to go but then quickly reverted, claiming she was too tired. So I said I'd just go for a quick spin and be right back. I left the apartment around 10:30 p.m. I was back home by 11 p.m. and she was already asleep. She's notorious for sleeping right through her alarms, so I made it a habit to check her phone and set a few extra ones for her. I picked up her phone, opened the alarm app, and as I was scrolling, a new text notification popped up. It was from a guy's contact name, and the message simply read, "I miss you." My brain kinda hit a snag. I miss you from some guy that wasn't right. I clicked on the conversation. Nothing else. Just that one text. My gut immediately told me this was a red flag. People don't just send one "I miss you" text out of the blue. There had to be more. Instinctually, I navigated to her recently deleted messages. The number that popped up made my blood run cold. 794 deleted texts in the past 3 days. 794. In hindsight, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have read them. I haven't really eaten in 2 days since, so it's clearly messing with me. But at that moment, it was like a morbid curiosity mixed with a growing dread. I started scrolling, and what I read, it was sickening. Hypersexual, vile, disgusting. Detailed. Specific. The kind of stuff that makes your stomach clench. Every line I read, the more twisted my insides became. By the time I finished, my hands were trembling. My whole body was vibrating with what I can only describe as a primal fight or flight response. I looked at her peacefully sleeping, and a single thought crystallized. I cannot be in the same bed as her, let alone the same apartment. The thought of confronting her immediately right then and there flashed through my mind, but it was quickly overshadowed by the urgent need to simply remove myself. My mind was racing, trying to process the sheer volume of betrayal, the calculated deceit. It wasn't just a text, it was an entire hidden world. I threw on some clothes, grabbed my keys, and walked out the door. My first impulse was to find someone to talk to, someone to ground me. I called my neighbor friends, the ones with the cool car, and asked if they were still up. Luckily they were, and I headed over there needing to just vent to figure out what the hell I'd just stumbled into. I was there for about an hour, just trying to make sense of things when my phone started blowing up. It was my girlfriend. Calls, texts, panic. We both had each other's locations on Find My iPhone, so she clearly knew I wasn't there. She'd obviously woken up, realized the bed was empty, and then found her phone on my side with the message thread open. At that point I had already made my decision. This wasn't a maybe. I've been down this road before. In a previous 3-year relationship, I was cheated on and it absolutely destroyed me. When I started dating her, I laid down clear non-negotiable boundaries, any cheating whatsoever and I'm out. No second chances. She agreed both ways. Seeing those texts, understanding the depth of her deception, it was a clear violation. The boundary was crossed. The relationship in my mind was over. What do you guys even do in that moment, when your entire world gets pulled out from under you, and you realize the person you love is a complete stranger? Do you go for the immediate explosion, or do you try to stay calm and figure out your next moves? I felt like I was in a pressure cooker. Alright, so after getting those panic calls and texts from her, I knew I had to go back. There was no avoiding it anymore. The decision to leave her was already set in stone, but I felt this deep, burning need to understand why. I'd been cheated on before, and that time I just cut everything off cold. Zero closure. This time I needed answers, even if they destroyed me further. So I walked back home. When I got there, she was sitting on the couch looking distraught. Her phone was still lying on the coffee table screen up, those deleted messages glaring at me like a silent accusation. I sat down as far away from her as I could without leaving the room entirely. The air was thick with tension, heavier than I'd ever felt it before. We just sat there for what felt like an eternity, probably about 30 minutes before I could even find my voice. "Why would you do this?" I finally managed to ask, the words feeling foreign and heavy in my mouth. "Who is it? What led up to this?" She stammered, tried to deflect at first, but with the evidence staring us both in the face, there wasn't much room for denial. Slowly, painfully, the truth started to trickle out. It was her boss. A 35-year-old guy married with 2 young kids. My stomach twisted into knots. I remember specifically asking her, "Did you know about his family?" She looked down, her voice barely a whisper, and said yes. I was floored. Utterly, completely shocked. Just 2 hours before she'd gone to bed that night, she was joking around asking where her ring was, and I swear to God I thought she was my soulmate. I was literally in the middle of planning a proposal trip to Switzerland. My whole heart given to someone after having it obliterated once before, and she just did this. Then came the details of her elaborate scheme. She'd told me she was going to a comedy club the next night with her work friends, a pop-up venue, so she wouldn't know the location until she picked the theme. As she spoke, I realized this wasn't just some spur-of-the-moment thing, not a drunk kiss. They had meticulously hatched an entire plan for their next session. It was going to be car sex. She had even sent specific instructions about finding secluded parking near the venue so that if I ever checked her location, which I would if she was gone a long time, I wouldn't be suspicious and she could just blame it on a glitch. They talked about positions, what they wanted each other to do, specifically not using a condom, and she wanted him to finish inside of her. As she laid out these chilling details, my mind was racing, but not just with anger. There was a colder, more strategic thought forming. I needed her to go to work the next day. I needed time. I looked at her then around our apartment, and a new goal emerged. I had to get my stuff out, all of it, before she came home. So I looked her straight in the eye and said, "We need to talk more about this in the morning. I need to process this. You need to get some sleep for work." My tone was flat, devoid of emotion, a stark contrast to the earthquake happening inside me. I had to convince her. I had to make her believe that talking in the morning was a possibility, that there was something left to discuss besides my exit strategy. She eventually went to bed, passing out, I assume, from the emotional exhaustion. I, on the other hand, couldn't sleep a wink. I spent the entire night on the couch, stomach-churning, mind replaying every vile text, every planned detail. Every fiber of my being wanted to scream, to lash out, but I held it in. I had a mission now. The next morning she left for work. As soon as her car pulled out of the driveway, I called my amazing group of friends and family. They showed up within the hour, no questions asked, just ready to help. We moved everything. My clothes, my books, my gaming, set up everything that was mine. We got it all out of there before she came home from work. It felt like an escape, a desperate sprint to reclaim what little control I had left. The apartment was empty, devoid of my presence. I knew she'd be furious when she got back. But for me, it was a necessary first step. I had removed myself physically. Now I just needed to survive the final confrontation. This level of calculated deception, it's just beyond anything I could have imagined. How do you even begin to process someone planning that kind of intimate betrayal while lying so convincingly about something as mundane as a comedy club? What does that even say about a person? Okay, so she came home to an empty apartment. To say she was pissed is probably the understatement of the century. My phone started blowing up again, but this time the texts weren't panicked, they were full-blown rage. She was screaming, accusing me of stealing everything, claiming she'd done nothing wrong. It was wild to hear, considering I'd just read almost 800 texts detailing her premeditated cheating. But I knew I had to go back one last time. I needed that final conversation, not for her but for me. I wanted to understand, to get some kind of closure that I never got in my previous cheated-on relationship. So later that night I went back to the apartment. I walked in to find her on the phone, still yelling at someone about how I'd taken everything. She saw me and hung up, her face contorted in anger. The very first thing she said to me, without even a hello or an "I'm sorry," was, "You took my PC." I just stared at her for a second. We're both gamers, we played together all the time. But that PC, that was a whole other story. "You mean," I said, my voice calm, "almost detached, the one that I bought and built for you. Then you cheated on me." "Yes, I took my PC back." I walked over to the couch and sat down. She, on the other hand, went to the kitchen and sat as far away from me as possible on a stool, arms crossed. The silence hung heavy again, but this time I was ready. I wasn't shaking anymore. I was hurt and enraged, but also strangely clear-headed. I looked at her. "You have one chance," I told her, my voice unwavering, "to be completely honest with me if you want any shot at, well, anything. And let's be real, another chance was never going to happen, but I needed to say it to get to the truth." "Why?" I asked again. "Why did you do this?" And then she gave me her reasoning. "I feel like our relationship was just getting stale." She started, her voice defensive. "We wake up, go to work, come home, eat, go to the gym, play games or watch TV or a movie, then go to bed." I was bored of it. I was absolutely floored. My jaw probably hit the floor. My brain tried to process those words. Bored of it. Bored of it. Everything we had was boring. "That's what was boring for you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "What was boring for you was everything to me. It was special. I cherished getting to come home every single day to someone I loved. I loved doing everything together. Every second of playing games, watching shows, even just laying in bed. I gave you everything I had." And she just spit it right back in my face. The sheer audacity, the callousness of her justification. For a split second, I wanted to yell. I wanted to lash out, to call her every name in the book. More than anything, I wanted to explode. But then it was like a switch flipped inside me. A sudden crystal clear realization. My real wife wouldn't do this to me. This wasn't just about her actions, it was about me. My worth. My future. I took a deep breath. "What you did," I told her, the words measured and calm, "despite the inferno inside me, disgusts me. I am enraged, yes. But more than anything, I feel sorry for you. I pity you." Her face flickered, a mix of anger and shock. "You threw away everything for nothing." I continued, listing it all out. "All of our friends were mutual, and they all have proof of what happened. They've cut you off. You lost me. You blocked a majority of your family the week before this for whatever reason. You cannot afford this apartment without me. You can't afford your car." It was just a cascade of consequences, all of her own making. My final statements to her were probably the hardest but the most important for me to say. "More than anything, I just pity you. And I don't understand, but I never will. I hope you find God and find peace later on in life. Everyone deserves that, no matter how disgusting what you did was. I hope you have a nice life, but it won't be with me." I left the apartment then for the last time. But the story wasn't quite over. I was still reeling from the knowledge that she'd done this with a married man, a guy with kids. I was even more shocked that she would do something like that knowing about his family. Apparently she'd even called me her fiancé at work, so I guess this guy just assumed we were going to be married soon, which just adds another layer of messed up to this whole thing. Today I found his wife's phone number. I agonized over it, truly. I thought long and hard about whether to tell her. But I kept coming back to one thing: if I were in her shoes, I'd absolutely want to know. So I got in contact with her. I sent her all the necessary proof, screenshots of those vile messages, everything. Safe to say, even though I'm absolutely shattered after this, she's probably more so. They were going to celebrate their 10-year anniversary next month. We spoke on the phone for about 30 minutes, and I explained everything. I learned that the company actually laid off this dude the day their master plan was supposed to go into effect, according to his wife. Had told her he was going for drinks with coworkers, which unfortunately just corroborated all the stories. It absolutely kills me writing all of this out. I don't even know what to do right now. Just kind of using this thread to journal, I guess. I honestly don't think I can ever trust somebody again after this. I'm lucky to have an amazing support system of friends and family who helped me move and have been there for me through all of this. I genuinely don't know what I'd do without them. Reddit, I'm just lost. What do you even do after something like this? How do you rebuild when your foundation has been completely obliterated? I need some advice, some perspective. Anything.